taxes. So not only do they sometimes earn, in some states, a smaller wage, maybe $2 instead of $6 as a waiter, they also have to claim their tips. So and they have to pay it to taxes. So sometimes they lose money if you don't tip them a good enough amount. And then if there's a tip pool, then it's different servers. Altogether, they're going to divide the money evenly. So if you punish one server by leaving just $1 for a big meal, then you're actually punishing all of them. And that's why sometimes the best way is to go to establishment and then complain to the manager or owner, depending on the restaurant.
Right. I think that's what you mentioned earlier. That's what we do if you ever encounter situations like this. This thing got so big that, when I found this story, there's a lot of people actually leaving comments on the story. And one of them was interesting. One of this guy said, if I have to wait an hour to get my food, I just get out of there. I wouldn't wait for the food.
Wow.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
Right? And I see a lot of people supporting the store owners, and a lot of people support the patrons. But my last question on this subject is, do you think by paying tip, having this tip system, actually provide you better service? What do you think?
Well, okay. I read online for many blogs, a lot of waiters and waitresses, they all have a blog of their own just to talk about their experiences. And they say that leaving a good tip definitely leaves an impression on the waiter. And if you're someone who goes to that restaurant often and you want to get good service repeatedly, then of course you don't have to leave a lot, but maybe even the first time you leave a good tip, they'll always have a good impression about you, and then they'll remember, oh, you don't like ice in your water, or oh, you like your tea to be like this tea instead of that tea. They'll take the time to remember you because you're giving them money, and of course they're going to show that.
That's true. It definitely gives a really good incentive for them, because let's say the U.S. government decided to just do away with this whole tipping system, we'd probably have really bad service because they wouldn't have any incentive, like I said before, to provide you good service, because they know that they're just going to get their hourly. And it's kind of like, because we both used to work in retail, and I used to work at a store where there was commission. And it's the same thing. You can tell as soon as you step in the store what store provides or gives commission to their employees and which don't, because they'll just they'll give you better service.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we all agree that having a tip system is actually good for the service. And let me throw out something there, a little controversial. Is that why Chinese restaurants typically serve bad service?
Well, it's definitely just, up to the people. Like, definitely if you if it shouldn't be an incentive. Like, it is, we all agree. But if somebody really feels passionate about their job, they'll do the service regardless of what they get. Why do we have volunteers working for nonprofit organizations? They don't get any compensation, but they're willing to put in the time because that's what they're passionate about. But unfortunately, most people, they work because they need money, and that's why it's really important to keep the system going, give them incentives to do well.
Right. And talking about tip, coming from our background is, we do have a stereotyping when, I guess we can talk about cheap versus thrift. I think we were talking about that. Some people call it cheap.
Cheap, yeah.
We're leaving the minimest tip we can do. No matter how good the service is, we don't go over that. Like Joyce mentioned, you have kids running around. We'll still just give them 10% or 15%. Other people say, well, because we're a thrift culture, we gotta save every penny. It's hard earned. What do you think about that?
Well, okay. I think for a lot of the older generations, the reason why they've become so thrifty is because they had to live through the war.
Yes.
So we're very fortunate in this generation that the Iraq War doesn't really affect us because it's not taking place in our own country. But if you were in Japan or China or anything during the World War II, you definitely know to conserve your resources. But then at the same time right now, if you don't have the money or the resources, instead of cutting back on tips, why not just consider a cheaper alternative to go to a different restaurant that doesn't charge as much? Or eating at home.
Cook at home. Yeah.
Like when you go out, usually if we order takeout. So if, say, pizza delivery or even a car wash, you're paying somebody to do the work that you don't want to do yourself. So that's why I think, it's important to leave a tip, or else you can always just save money and do it yourself.
Right.
Yeah, I think what Joyce is saying is it stems all the way back. Our ancestors, they worked in the farms, they worked in the plantations, and compared to how we live today and how we've been, growing up in the way we've been raised is that, well, our ancestors, nothing was handed over to them like it is to us because we're so fortunate now, and nothing was given to them on a silver platter. So that's kind of how they've developed this save every penny in order to be successful because they didn't really have help or anything like that. And I mean, there's a huge difference between being cheap and being thrifty. But I will say that I know a lot of Chinese people that are very cheap and thrifty.
But then, at the same time, it's kind of like a back and forth thing. Like some people, I mean, if you hear about grandmas who wash out their Ziploc bags, and to us, it's like, oh, we use them because they're disposable.
Is that cheap or thrifty now, right?
But then that's also environmentally friendly.
Right.
And then now some people are starting to do that as a result. It's becoming a trend.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's
That
always
is so funny.
different points of view.
You know what? We don't got much time left, but that's not a good topic for discussion next time. But I would like to leave out with this story. I think I read this. Well, I can't remember very clearly, but many years ago when that book came out, Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yeah.
There was this little young boy walk into an ice cream parlor shop.
Yes,
you read that story.
I read that story.
And then the waitress go and go, "What do you want?" And the boy kept asking how much is scoop, 2 scoop, 3 scoop, and 4th scoop. And the lady got really impatient trying to serve him because he kept having so many questions. But when he finally ordered his scoop, left, and then the woman was in tears because he was calculating how much tip because he only has a certain amount of money for the ice cream. He only has certain money left for the tips. He wanted to make sure that she get her tip, her service.
She had enough money to get 2 scoops, and he only got 1 because he wanted to leave the tip.
That is such a sweet story.
I think that's a story that we can keep by. So next time we go to restaurants. Well, thank you for walking the show.
Thank you so much, Henry.
Having you guys here. We'll see you next time.